so glad you found your way here tonight. Your subconscious mind is already working, sorting the day's experiences, deciding what to keep, what to release, what to quietly reshape while you rest. Tonight, you'll discover how science understands the hidden architecture beneath your waking thoughts. And by the end, you'll understand why sleep is not an escape from your mind, but its most powerful transformation. Welcome to Sleepy Mind Science. Wherever you are right now, perhaps lying still in the quiet dark, or feeling the soft weight of blankets settling around you, allow yourself this moment of arrival. We'll journey through 100 psychology facts about the subconscious mind, from the invisible processes that shape every decision you make, to the nightly rewiring that happens while you dream, to the slow, gentle science of becoming someone slightly different each morning. This thoughtful journey through the subconscious builds a quiet community of minds searching for the same peace. A gentle like, a soft subscribe, or sharing this with someone still awake creates a pathway for more seekers to find their way here and brings us closer to protecting this space, one sleepy soul at a time. Your presence here means more than you know. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your breath deepen naturally. You can let these thoughts drift past without holding them. Sense that soothing heaviness enveloping you, like your consciousness slowly dimming its brightness. Thoughts dissolving into the peaceful fog of approaching sleep, safe and undisturbed. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where memories rest safely in gentle darkness. Let your mind merge with infinite peace. And now we begin. Your subconscious mind processes approximately 11 million bits of information every single second. Your conscious mind, by comparison, handles only about 40 to 50 bits per second. This means that the vast majority of everything your brain does, monitoring your heartbeat, regulating your breathing, scanning the room for patterns, happens entirely without your awareness. Researchers measuring neural activity have confirmed this asymmetry repeatedly. The part of your mind you identify as you is in fact a very small passenger riding an enormous, quietly humming machine. There is something both humbling and deeply comforting in that. You don't need to understand everything. Most of the important work is already being handled. The word subconscious as a scientific concept dates back to the late 19th century, but modern neuroscience has reshaped what it means entirely. Early thinkers imagined the subconscious as a kind of shadow self, hidden, mysterious, perhaps dangerous. Today, researchers describe it more accurately as the brain's background operating system, efficient, pattern-based, extraordinarily fast. It does not hide things from you out of mystery. It simply operates at a speed and depth that conscious thought cannot follow. Knowing this changes the relationship. The subconscious is not a stranger. It is the oldest, most experienced part of who you are. Habits are stored in a region of the brain called the basal ganglia, deep below the outer cortex, where conscious thinking happens. When you perform a habitual action, brushing your teeth, driving a familiar route, responding to a certain tone of voice, the basal ganglia handles the entire sequence automatically, freeing your conscious mind to think about something else entirely. Neuroimaging studies show that as a behavior becomes habitual, activity in the prefrontal cortex actually decreases, while basal ganglia activation increases. The brain is conserving energy. Every habit you've ever formed is a gift your subconscious gave to your future self. The subconscious mind learns primarily through repetition. When a thought, behavior, or emotional response is repeated enough times, the neural pathway associated with it becomes more efficient. The connection between neurons grows stronger. The signal travels faster. Neuroscientists call this process long-term potentiation. Donald Hebb, the Canadian psychologist, described it simply: neurons that fire together, wire together. This is not metaphor, it is measurable, physical change at the level of individual synapses. Every time you choose a calmer response, a gentler thought, a slower breath, you are literally reshaping the fine architecture of your subconscious, one small repetition at a time. In the early years of childhood, the brain spends significantly more time in the slower brainwave states, delta and theta, compared to adults. This means that young children's minds are, in a neurological sense, more open and less filtered than they will later become. The patterns absorbed during these years, what a child learns about safety, belonging, and how the world responds to them, leave impressions that the subconscious carries forward, often without the adult's awareness. In early life, this open absorption served a deep biological purpose, allowing children to learn what the world around them expected, long before language made explanation possible. Much of what we believe at the deepest level was formed before we had the words to question it. This is not a flaw. It was once a profound gift. The subconscious mind communicates with the body constantly through the autonomic nervous system, the network of nerves that controls heart rate, digestion, immune response, and hundreds of other involuntary functions. When the subconscious perceives threat, it activates the sympathetic branch. Heart rate rises, muscles tighten, breathing shallows. When it perceives safety, it activates the parasympathetic branch. The body relaxes, digestion resumes, healing accelerates. What the subconscious believes about the present moment directly determines the physical state of your body. Right now, lying here, the simple act of feeling safe is sending healing signals through every system in your body. Emotional memories are stored differently from factual ones. The amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure deep in the brain, acts as the emotional tag for every experience. When something happens that triggers strong emotion, the amygdala marks that memory with chemical signals that make it more vivid, more accessible, and more influential over future behavior. This is why a smell, a song, or a particular tone of voice can instantly transport you back to a moment decades old. The subconscious does not forget emotional experiences. It files them carefully in places where they can be quickly retrieved whenever a similar situation arises. The brain does not distinguish clearly between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. Studies using functional MRI technology show that visualizing an action activates many of the same neural regions as actually performing it. Athletes have long used this knowledge. Mental rehearsal of a movement produces measurable improvements in physical performance, even without physical practice. The subconscious mind responds to imagery. When you imagine yourself calm, resting, safe, the brain begins to reinforce those patterns as if they were already real. Tonight, this room, this quiet, your subconscious is already filing this as evidence that rest is possible. The subconscious mind governs something neuroscientists call implicit memory, the knowledge of how to do things, rather than the memory of specific events. Riding a bicycle, speaking your native language, reading these words without sounding out each letter, all of this is implicit memory. It operates fluidly, without effort, and largely without awareness. Interestingly, implicit memory remains relatively intact even in individuals with severe amnesia who cannot form new conscious memories. The subconscious holds a kind of knowledge that is deeper and more durable than anything conscious thought alone can produce. So already, 10 facts in, a pattern is emerging. The subconscious mind is not the lesser part of your mental life. It is the foundation. It is the ocean beneath the small island of conscious thought. And understanding it, even gently, even here at the edge of sleep, is one of the most quietly powerful things you can do for your own well-being. This is the first truth of reprogramming. You cannot change what you do not understand. And understanding begins with simply paying attention, with curiosity and without judgment, to the patterns already running beneath the surface. Sleep itself is one of the primary mechanisms through which the subconscious consolidates new information. During sleep, the hippocampus, the brain's temporary storage facility for new experiences, transfers information to the neocortex for long-term storage. This process, called memory consolidation, happens almost entirely outside of conscious awareness. Research published in recent years confirms that the quality of this transfer depends significantly on the depth and completeness of sleep cycles. What you know during the day becomes truly yours only after the subconscious has had time to process it in the night. The subconscious mind is strongly influenced by language. Specifically, it responds to the emotional tone of words rather than their literal meaning. Researchers studying self-talk have found that negative internal narration, even when framed as hypothetical, activates stress responses in the body. Words like never, always, failure, and threat produce measurable physiological changes. This is why the language we use with ourselves matters so deeply. The subconscious takes the emotional quality of inner speech seriously. It shapes the body's readiness to respond long before any deliberate thought catches up. Affirmations, repeated, intentional states about desired states, have a measurable effect on subconscious patterning. But the mechanism is more nuanced than popular culture suggests. Research on self-affirmation theory, originally developed by Claude Steele in the 1980s and refined extensively since, shows that affirmations work most effectively when they are connected to genuine values rather than abstract goals. Simply repeating, "I am calm," produces limited results. But connecting that statement to something you genuinely care about, being calm allows me to be present for the people I love, activates deeper, more durable neural pathways. The subconscious mind operates on what psychologists call heuristics, mental shortcuts that allow fast decision-making based on past patterns. These shortcuts are enormously useful in everyday life. They allow you to navigate complex situations without exhausting deliberate thought. But they also mean the subconscious sometimes applies outdated patterns to new situations. A response learned in one context can be triggered in a completely different one. Much of what we call overreaction is simply the subconscious using an old map in new territory. Recognizing this, gently, without self-blame, is already a form of reprogramming. The prefrontal cortex, the region of the brain associated with reasoning, planning, and impulse control, acts as a kind of editor for subconscious impulses. When it is well rested and functioning well, it can pause, evaluate, and choose a different response. When it is fatigued, stressed, or sleep deprived, subconscious patterns tend to dominate behavior. This is part of why sleep deprivation increases emotional reactivity, impulsive decisions, and anxiety. The conscious mind needs rest in order to maintain its gentle oversight of deeper patterns. Tonight's rest is, quite literally, an act of self-regulation. Breathing is one of the most direct conscious pathways into the subconscious. The breath is unique among bodily functions because it is governed by both the autonomic nervous system, subconscious, and the somatic nervous system, conscious. You can choose to breathe slowly and deeply, and when you do, you directly activate the parasympathetic nervous system, sending a signal of safety to every part of the body. This is sometimes called the relaxation response, a term developed by cardiologist Herbert Benson in the 1970s, whose validity has been confirmed and expanded by decades of subsequent research. Right now, each slow breath you take is sending a gentle message to your subconscious that it is safe to let go. The gut and the brain are in constant two-way communication through the vagus nerve, a long wandering nerve that connects the brainstem to the heart, lungs, and digestive system. Recent research in the field of the gut-brain axis has revealed that the enteric nervous system in the gut contains an estimated 500 million neurons, roughly 5 times the number found in the spinal cord. The gut produces around 90% of the body's serotonin, most of which acts locally to regulate digestion, though it communicates continuously with the brain through the vagus nerve and other pathways. The subconscious mind is not located in the brain alone. It is woven through the entire body, listening and responding to signals from every system simultaneously. Trauma leaves measurable traces in the subconscious. Research in the field of trauma neuroscience, significantly advanced by the work of Bessel van der Kolk and others, has demonstrated that traumatic experiences alter both the structure and function of the brain, affecting the amygdala, hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex in ways that can persist for years. Crucially, the brain retains its capacity for change throughout life. The subconscious can be gently, gradually, patiently reshaped even after significant difficulty. This is not wishful thinking. It is well supported by current neuroscience. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections and reorganize existing ones at a structural level, continues throughout the entire human lifespan. For much of the 20th century, scientists believed the adult brain was largely fixed after early development. The discovery that the brain continues forming new connections in adulthood, even into old age, fundamentally changed the science of the mind. The hippocampus, in particular, continues generating new neurons, a process called neurogenesis throughout life, with sleep, physical activity, and low-stress environments being among the most powerful conditions that support this growth. You are never too old, too fixed, or too formed to change. The subconscious mind communicates through the body in ways that often precede conscious awareness. Somatic markers, physical sensations like a tightening in the chest, a loosening in the shoulders, a heaviness in the stomach, are the subconscious mind's way of flagging the emotional significance of a situation before the conscious mind has formed a complete thought. Neurologist Antonio Damasio, whose work on emotion and decision-making remains highly influential, demonstrated that people who have lost the ability to feel these physical signals often struggle to make even simple decisions. The body's quiet signals are not distractions from thought, they are part of it. Sleep deprivation impairs the subconscious mind's ability to accurately read emotional signals from others. Studies using facial recognition tasks have found that sleep-deprived individuals are significantly less accurate at identifying subtle emotional expressions and more likely to misinterpret neutral faces as threatening. This means that a tired subconscious becomes more defensive, more reactive, more likely to perceive hostility in ambiguous situations. Rest does not make you weaker. It makes your subconscious more accurate, more discerning, and more capable of choosing connection over defensiveness. The subconscious mind has a remarkable sensitivity to social cues, tone of voice, facial expression, body language, the rhythm and pace of another person's speech. This capacity, sometimes called social cognition, is processed largely beneath conscious awareness. Research in social neuroscience has identified networks of brain regions, including the anterior insula, the anterior cingulate cortex, and regions involved in mirroring the actions of others, that continuously process the emotional and social meaning of every interaction. When you feel instantly at ease with someone or quietly uneasy with another, it is often your subconscious completing a very fast, very complex calculation that arrives in your awareness simply as a feeling. Dreaming is one of the most active periods of subconscious processing. During REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, the brain is nearly as metabolically active as during wakefulness. The prefrontal cortex, however, is significantly less active during REM, which is why dreams tend to be illogical, emotionally vivid, and unconstrained by the usual rules of cause and effect. Researchers understand dreams as a space where the subconscious freely associates, processes unresolved emotional experiences, and rehearses responses to anticipated challenges. Dreams are not random noise. They are the subconscious mind doing its most creative, least censored work. The theta brainwave state, the slow oscillation between 4 and 8 cycles per second, is the neurological bridge between waking and sleeping consciousness. It is the state most associated with hypnagogic imagery, creative insight, and the processing of emotionally significant material. Many people experience hypnagogia, vivid, dreamlike images and sounds that appear at the edge of sleep while in this state. Neuroscientists have found that this threshold period is particularly receptive to new patterns and associations. The moments just before sleep are not wasted time. They are a doorway through which the subconscious is especially open. And here, 25 facts in, we have sketched the outline of the subconscious mind, its speed, its language, its architecture, its relationship with the body, sleep, and the slow work of change. The picture that emerges is not frightening or mysterious. It is, if anything, deeply reassuring. Beneath your conscious thoughts, an ancient, experienced intelligence is always at work, learning, adjusting, protecting, healing. Your work tonight is simply to stop interrupting it, to let the breath slow, to allow the body to rest. The subconscious mind knows exactly what to do with the silence you give it. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each tiny cell inside. Trillions of organisms working in silence, heart beating, lungs breathing, brain thinking, all without your command. Notice the gentle sensations on your skin, in your muscles, along your spine. You are a complete ecosystem. diverse, self-balancing. Your subconscious is tending to all of it right now, quietly and without effort. You don't need to do anything. Now we continue. The subconscious mind is particularly responsive to the period just before sleep and the period just after waking. These transitional states, when slower brainwave patterns predominate and the critical faculties of the prefrontal cortex are quieted, are historically recognized as gentle windows for reprogramming. Practices like guided imagery, soft affirmation, and calm reflection tend to reach deeper when used during these moments because the usual mental resistance is lower. What you hear, imagine, or feel in the last few minutes before sleep is processed differently than information encountered during the day. Tonight's journey is itself a gentle form of this process. The subconscious stores core beliefs, fundamental assumptions about yourself, other people, and the world that were formed primarily in early life. These beliefs function as filters through which all new experience is processed. If the subconscious holds a belief that the world is fundamentally unsafe, it will tend to find confirmation of that belief even in neutral situations. If it holds a belief that rest is earned rather than inherent, it may resist relaxation. Noticing these filters gently, without urgency, is the first step toward loosening them. You do not need to fight them. You only need to notice them. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, known as CBTI, is currently recognized by both the American Academy of Sleep Medicine and the American College of Physicians as the most effective first-line treatment for chronic insomnia. It works in part by identifying and gently restructuring subconscious associations between the bed, wakefulness, and anxiety. Through a process called stimulus control, the brain learns to reassociate the sleep environment with calm rather than alertness. This is a direct application of subconscious reprogramming, proven, measurable, and effective without medication. The fact that it works demonstrates how accessible the subconscious can be to the right kind of gentle, patient attention. The subconscious mind is strongly influenced by the principle of emotional congruence, the tendency to notice and remember information that matches our current emotional state. When we are anxious, the subconscious preferentially attends to potential threats. When we are calm, it preferentially notices safety and warmth. This creates feedback loops that can become self-reinforcing. The practice of intentionally cultivating calm through slow breath, soft attention, quiet environments gradually shifts the subconscious filter toward one that looks for evidence of peace rather than danger. Each quiet night is a small but real recalibration. Mindfulness meditation has been shown in multiple clinical trials to produce measurable changes in both brain structure and subconscious processing. Long-term meditators show reduced amygdala reactivity, increased gray matter density in the prefrontal cortex, and stronger connectivity between regions involved in executive function and emotional regulation. A study from Massachusetts General Hospital found that just 8 weeks of daily mindfulness practice produced detectable structural changes in the hippocampus and amygdala. The subconscious can be reshaped by steady, gentle attention. Not by force, not by pressure, by simply returning again and again to the present moment. The default mode network, a set of brain regions that becomes active when the mind is at rest, not focused on an external task, is closely associated with the subconscious. It is active during daydreaming, memory retrieval, self-reflection, and the imagining of future events. Researchers initially found this network puzzling. Why would the brain be so active when apparently doing nothing? It is now understood as the brain's internal processing space, where the subconscious integrates experience, constructs a sense of self, and rehearses possible futures. The wandering mind is not wasting energy. It is doing some of the most quietly meaningful work a human brain can do. The subconscious mind processes music differently from spoken language. Music activates the limbic system, the brain's emotional center, more directly and rapidly than words alone. This is why music can change a mood in seconds, bypassing the slower reasoning of the prefrontal cortex. Research has consistently shown that slow tempo music with low pitch and minimal percussion activates the parasympathetic nervous system, slowing heart rate and breathing, reducing cortisol levels, and gently easing the transition toward sleep. The ambient sound accompanying this voice tonight is not decoration. It is a carefully shaped signal to your subconscious that this is a safe place to rest. The subconscious mind uses pattern recognition as its primary mode of understanding the world. It is constantly scanning for familiar sequences, sounds, smells, visual arrangements, emotional tones, and matching them to stored templates. This is enormously efficient. But it also means the subconscious can be patiently trained by the unhurried repetition of new patterns. A nightly routine that includes the same sounds, the same posture, the same slow breathing, the same soft voice, gradually becomes a pattern the subconscious recognizes as the prelude to sleep. Repetition, offered gently over time, becomes its own kind of medicine. The concept of sleep hygiene, a term developed in the 1970s by sleep researcher Peter Howrey, describes a set of behavioral and environmental practices that support natural sleep. Modern sleep science has expanded this to include the management of internal narratives, emotional tone, and mental habits in the hours before sleep. Rumination, the repetitive cycling of worrying thoughts, is now understood to be one of the primary drivers of difficulty falling asleep. The subconscious cannot easily enter restorative sleep, while the conscious mind is insisting on solving unsolvable problems at midnight. Letting go, even temporarily, is not avoidance. It is wisdom. Hypnosis is a state of focused attention and heightened subconscious receptivity that has been studied scientifically for over a century. Contemporary neuroimaging research has identified its neural correlates clearly. Hypnosis involves reduced activity in the prefrontal cortex, increased connectivity between the brain's executive and sensory regions, and altered patterns of default mode network activity. It is not sleep, and it is not unconsciousness. It is a real, measurable neurological state in which the subconscious becomes more accessible. The effectiveness of hypnotherapy for anxiety, pain management, and sleep difficulties is now well supported by clinical evidence. The subconscious mind is deeply sensitive to the concept of safety. Polyvagal theory, developed by neuroscientist Stephen Porges and expanded by subsequent research, describes a hierarchy of physiological states that the nervous system moves through based on perceived safety. When the subconscious senses safety, it activates what Porges called the social engagement system. Facial muscles soften, the voice becomes melodic, hearing sharpens for human frequencies, heart rate becomes variable and calm. This is the state your body is moving toward right now. Slowly, quietly with each breath. The phenomenon of sleep-dependent learning, the consolidation of motor skills, problem-solving abilities, and creative insights during sleep, has been documented extensively in the research literature. Studies have found that people who are taught a complex task and then sleep perform significantly better the following day than those who remain awake, even when total time since learning is held equal. The subconscious does not merely archive experience during sleep. It actively processes, reorganizes, and integrates it. The phrase "sleep on it" turns out to be remarkably accurate neuroscience. The glymphatic system, a waste clearance network first described by Nedergaard and colleagues, with landmark publications in 2012 and 2013, has been one of the most compelling discoveries in sleep neuroscience. Current evidence suggests that cerebrospinal fluid circulation through the brain is closely linked to sleep, and that metabolic byproducts associated with aging and neurological disease are cleared more readily when sleep is steady and protected. Researchers continue to refine their understanding of precisely how this process unfolds. What remains clear across the evidence is that protecting sleep serves the brain's maintenance in ways that wakefulness alone cannot replicate. The subconscious mind holds what psychologists call a self-concept, an internal model of who you are, what you are capable of, and how others perceive you. This model was constructed gradually over a lifetime of experience and is updated continuously, though slowly. Importantly, the subconscious self-concept does not always match conscious self-assessment. A person who consciously believes they are confident may carry subconscious patterns of inadequacy, and vice versa. The gentle process of aligning conscious and subconscious self-concept through steady behavior, compassionate self-reflection, and time is one of the quietest and most profound forms of personal growth available. Here, at the midpoint of our journey through the evidence, the picture clarifies further. The subconscious mind is not a fixed, rigid thing. It is dynamic, responsive, and steadily being shaped by experience, by sleep, by the emotional tone of our inner lives, by the patterns we repeat and the ones we gently choose to change. Reprogramming is not a dramatic intervention. It is the cumulative result of small, patient choices. Each night of deep rest, each slow breath, each moment of choosing curiosity over judgment. The subconscious learns from all of it. And tonight, it is learning that rest is safe. You're still here, still drifting through these quiet corridors of the mind with me. Take a slow breath. Notice how your thoughts feel a little further away now, as if the day is gradually releasing its grip. We're exploring consciousness itself together, the very thing doing the exploring right now. There's no rush, no destination, just the gentle current of curiosity carrying us deeper. Let's continue. Neuroscientist Benjamin Libet's well-known experiments in the early 1980s and subsequent replications found that the brain shows electrical activity associated with a voluntary movement several hundred milliseconds before the conscious awareness of intending to move. The readiness potential, as this signal is called, has been confirmed across many studies, though its precise interpretation remains an active area of scientific and philosophical debate. One way of sitting with these findings, softly and without urgency, is this. The part of you that moves before you think may not be working against you. It may simply be working faster. This is offered not as a settled conclusion, but as a gentle perspective worth considering at the edge of sleep. Emotional regulation, the ability to manage and respond to emotional experiences in adaptive ways, is significantly governed by subconscious processes. The prefrontal cortex plays a key conscious role, but the underlying emotional landscape is set by the subconscious patterns of the amygdala, insula, and anterior cingulate cortex. Research shows that individuals with greater emotional regulation capacity show not just more prefrontal activity during challenging moments, but also less reactive amygdala responses, suggesting that, over time, steady emotional regulation gradually reshapes the subconscious response itself. The goal is not to override the subconscious with willpower. It is to patiently train it towards steadiness. The subconscious responds to symbols and images far more readily than to abstract concepts. This is likely because the brain's visual processing systems evolved long before language, and symbolic imagistic thinking is one of the oldest cognitive capacities humans possess. When attempting to shift a subconscious pattern, imagery tends to be more effective than verbal instruction alone. This is reflected in the long history of guided visualization practices across many cultures, and it is increasingly supported by neuroscientific research. Tonight, as images form at the edges of sleep, your subconscious is already doing this ancient work. The phenomenon of incubation, the experience of arriving at a creative insight after a period of rest, away from active problem solving, has been studied in cognitive psychology for decades. It is now understood as the subconscious continuing to work on a problem while conscious attention is directed elsewhere. Research using sleep-dependent creativity designs has found that REM sleep in particular facilitates the integration of distantly related concepts, enabling the kind of non-obvious connections that characterize creative insight. The expression "sleeping on a problem" is not a metaphor for giving up. It is a description of delegating the problem to a more capable processor. The subconscious mind is significantly shaped by early social relationships, particularly early caregiving relationships. Attachment theory, originally developed by John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth in the mid-20th century and extensively refined since, describes how the emotional patterns of early relationships become encoded as internal working models in the subconscious. These models shape how we expect relationships to feel, how safe we allow ourselves to become with others, and how we regulate emotion in social contexts. They are among the most foundational subconscious patterns, and also among the most amenable to change through steady, warm, present moment experience. Sleep quality directly affects the subconscious mind's emotional learning capacity. Research published in the journal Nature Neuroscience found that sleep deprivation selectively impairs the consolidation of emotional memories, particularly those with a positive quality. In other words, when we are sleep deprived, the subconscious is less able to retain positive emotional experiences while remaining just as capable of retaining negative ones. This creates a measurable bias toward low mood in sleep-deprived individuals. Rest is not a luxury. It is a biological condition for maintaining a balanced emotional subconscious. The subconscious mind influences what psychologists call approach and avoidance motivation, the tendency to move toward things perceived as rewarding and away from things perceived as threatening. These tendencies are largely automatic and subconscious. Research using reaction time tasks has found that subconscious approach avoidance tendencies can predict behavioral choices even when individuals are unaware of their own patterns. Understanding that these tendencies exist and that they were shaped by experience rather than being innate fixed traits, opens a gentle path toward gradually expanding the range of things the subconscious considers safe to move toward. The body scan, a structured meditation practice in which attention is moved deliberately through different regions of the body, has been shown in controlled studies to reduce physiological markers of stress, improve sleep quality, and increase positive affect. Its mechanism of action is thought to involve both the direct parasympathetic activation of slow, deliberate attention and the gradual training of the subconscious to associate bodily awareness with safety rather than anxiety. For many people, the relationship between awareness and the body is one of the most accessible doorways to subconscious change. Simply noticing, without judgment, is itself a healing act. The phenomenon of placebo, the well-documented medical effect of inert substances or procedures administered with the expectation of healing, demonstrates the profound influence of the subconscious mind over the body. Placebo effects produce measurable biological changes, pain reduction accompanied by actual release of the body's natural pain-relieving compounds, immune system modulation, altered neurotransmitter levels. Recent research has found that placebo effects can even occur when participants are told they are receiving a placebo. The subconscious responds to the signal of care, of being attended to, of the ritual of treatment, regardless of the specific content. What we believe the body can do, the subconscious begins quietly to make possible. Halfway through our journey, the central truth of subconscious reprogramming has come fully into view. The subconscious is not a locked vault requiring a special key. It is a living, listening, responsive system that is shaped by everything you steadily offer it. The quality of your attention, the tone of your self-talk, the depth of your rest, the warmth of your relationships, the images you allow to form at the edge of sleep. You are always already reprogramming it. The only question is whether you are doing so with awareness and intention. Tonight, you are. Let each breath remind you that time, tonight, belongs only to you. While the world continues its turning, this moment, this breath, this quiet is yours alone. Your subconscious is working in ways you will never need to fully understand. Every memory sorted, every emotion processed, every pattern nudged gently in a new direction. It is all happening beneath the surface, without effort from you. Your only task is to allow it. And we continue drifting. The subconscious mind processes emotion before the conscious mind is aware of it. Research in effective neuroscience has shown that emotional responses in the amygdala can be triggered by stimuli presented too briefly for conscious recognition, a phenomenon called subliminal affective priming. This means the subconscious is always reading the emotional temperature of the environment, always adjusting the body's readiness to respond, even when you have no conscious awareness of the trigger. Understanding this helps explain why we sometimes feel a shift in our emotional state without knowing why. The subconscious noticed something. It was simply being careful on your behalf. The process of cognitive reappraisal, deliberately choosing to reinterpret the meaning of a stressful event, is one of the most effective emotion regulation strategies identified in psychological research. Practiced steadily over time, cognitive reappraisal gradually shifts the subconscious appraisal process itself. People who regularly practice reappraisal begin to show less reactive amygdala responses to stresses. suggesting that the strategy eventually becomes internalized, no longer requiring conscious effort. The conscious mind teaches the subconscious. Over time, the student becomes the teacher. The subconscious mind is significantly affected by the quality of attention we bring to our own experience. Research on expressive writing, the practice of writing in depth about emotionally significant experiences, has found that it produces measurable improvements in psychological and physical health. Reduced stress hormones, improved immune function, better sleep. The mechanism appears to involve the subconscious processing of previously unintegrated emotional material. When we give something words, we give the subconscious a structure for organizing and eventually releasing it. The act of articulation is itself a form of healing. REM sleep disruption has been linked to specific difficulties in emotional processing. Studies examining individuals who are awakened during REM sleep, preventing the completion of dream cycles, show increased emotional reactivity the following day and impaired ability to contextualize challenging information accurately. Conversely, individuals who complete full sleep cycles, including adequate REM, show better emotional resilience, more accurate social judgment, and greater capacity for empathy. The dream state is not a side effect of sleep. It is one of sleep's primary purposes, a nightly recalibration of the emotional subconscious. The concept of neuroplasticity extends to the emotional brain at a structural level. Research in effective neuroscience, including foundational work by Richard Davidson at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, has demonstrated that the emotional set point, the baseline level of positive or negative affect that the subconscious returns to after perturbation, is malleable. Through steady practice of skills like mindfulness, compassion, and positive social engagement, the emotional baseline can gradually shift. This is one of the most hopeful findings in all of modern neuroscience. The subconscious tendency toward worry or anxiety is not a fixed feature of personality. It is a pattern that can, with patience, soften. The subconscious mind is attuned to the voices of others in ways that go far beyond the meaning of words. The prosody of speech, its rhythm, pitch, pace, and melody, conveys emotional information that the subconscious processes automatically and rapidly. Slow, low-pitched, rhythmically steady speech activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Rapid, high-pitched, irregular speech activates the sympathetic. This is why lullabies work across every human culture, not because of their content, but because of their form. The subconscious responds to the song before it processes the words. It is responding right now. The default mode network, that internal processing system activated during rest, plays a central role in the construction of personal narrative, the ongoing story we tell ourselves about who we are and what our life means. Research suggests that certain forms of low mood are associated with a particular pattern of default mode network activity characterized by excessive self-referential, repetitive thought. Mindfulness-based approaches that quiet this network appear to interrupt that pattern, allowing the subconscious to revise its internal narrative. In rest, the mind does not just replay the past, it rewrites it, very slowly, toward meaning. The subconscious mind maintains a threat detection system that operates continuously and below awareness. This system, involving the amygdala, hippocampus, and anterior insula, is scanning constantly for patterns that match previously encoded difficulties. In individuals who have experienced prolonged stress or significant adversity, This system can become overactive, detecting threat in neutral or ambiguous situations. The good news, confirmed by current research, is that steady experiences of safety, warmth, and calm gradually recalibrate this system. The subconscious alarm can turn down, not by disabling it, but by patiently offering it evidence that rest is safe. Sleep architecture, the sequence and timing of different sleep stages through the night, follows a predictable pattern that reflects the subconscious mind's own priorities. Earlier in the night, slow-wave sleep predominates, and this is when the brain moves toward deep rest and physical recovery. Later in the night, REM periods lengthen, and emotional processing, memory integration, and creative association take center stage. This architecture is not arbitrary. It reflects a biological program refined over millions of years for the order in which the subconscious prefers to do its nightly work. Honoring it means allowing sleep to run its full, unhurried course. Heart rate variability, the variation in time between successive heartbeats, is one of the most sensitive measures of the balance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. Higher heart rate variability is associated with emotional flexibility, cognitive performance, and physical health. Slower, deeper, rhythmically steady breathing is one of the most reliable ways to increase heart rate variability. When you breathe slowly and allow the body to follow, you are literally increasing the harmony of your subconscious nervous system. Each breath a small recalibration, each exhale a gentle release. The subconscious responds to gratitude in measurable ways. Research on the psychology of gratitude, including work by Robert Emmons at the University of California, Davis, has found that steady gratitude practices produce improvements in sleep quality, emotional well-being, and social connection. The proposed mechanism involves the subconscious learning to attend more regularly to positive experience, gradually shifting the default filter through which the world is perceived. Gratitude is not denial of difficulty. It is training the subconscious to maintain a more complete and balanced picture of reality. The subconscious mind distinguishes between what psychologists call approach goals and avoidance goals. Approach goals, moving towards something desired, are associated with positive emotion, persistence, and well-being. Avoidance goals, moving away from something feared, are associated with anxiety, vigilance, and exhaustion. Research on motivation consistently finds that reframing goals from avoidance to approach, from "I want to stop worrying" to "I want to feel at peace," produces steadier outcomes and less mental fatigue. The subconscious responds differently to the direction of movement. Tonight we are moving toward rest, not away from wakefulness. The phenomenon of sleep inertia, the groggy, softly disoriented feeling that sometimes follows waking, is caused by the subconscious taking time to transition from deep sleep to full wakefulness. During this transition, the prefrontal cortex is still coming back online, and subconscious processes dominate. Sleep inertia is typically brief, 10 to 30 minutes, and its intensity is partly related to the depth of sleep from which one was awakened. Waking naturally at the end of a full sleep cycle minimizes this feeling. The subconscious prefers to complete its cycles without interruption. Protecting this is one of the simplest acts of care for your own mind. The subconscious mind is sensitive to light, specifically to the wavelength of blue light emitted by screens. The retino-hypothalamic tract, a neural pathway from the eye to the hypothalamus, communicates light information directly to the circadian clock, which regulates the timing of sleep and wakefulness. Blue light signals the subconscious that it is daytime, suppressing melatonin production and delaying the transition to sleep. Reducing blue light exposure in the hour before sleep is a direct communication to the subconscious that night has arrived and that it is safe to begin the transition toward rest. Memory reconsolidation, the process by which a stored memory becomes temporarily flexible each time it is recalled before being stabilized again in its updated form, offers one of the most fascinating insights into subconscious plasticity. Research has shown that each time a memory is retrieved, it is briefly in a state where it can be gently altered before being restored. This is the biological basis for certain therapeutic approaches, including some aspects of trauma treatment. The subconscious does not preserve the past unchanged. Every time you remember, you also subtly rewrite. The subconscious mind and the immune system are in steady communication. The field of psychoneuroimmunology has documented extensively how psychological states influence immune function through shared chemical messengers, cytokines, neuropeptides, hormones. Prolonged stress, mediated through subconscious threat activation, can suppress immune function over time. Rest, positive emotion, and social connection, conversely, support immune resilience. The body's ability to tend to itself is not independent of the mind. It is continuously shaped by the emotional state the subconscious maintains. Self-compassion, the practice of treating oneself with the same kindness one might offer a close friend in difficulty, has been studied extensively by researcher Kristen Neff and others. It has been found to reduce anxiety, improve emotional resilience, decrease rumination, and support better sleep. Crucially, self-compassion is not self-indulgence or lowered standards. Research consistently shows that self-compassionate individuals are more, not less motivated to address their difficulties because the subconscious is not depleted by self-criticism. Kindness toward oneself is among the most efficient forms of subconscious reprogramming available. The subconscious holds procedural memory, the memory of how to perform physical and cognitive skills in a form that is remarkably durable. Skills learned to the level of automaticity are stored in networks that are highly resistant to forgetting. This is why a person who learned to play piano as a child can return to it after decades and find a surprising amount still intact. The subconscious does not easily relinquish what it has deeply learned. This durability is a quiet reassurance. The patterns of calm, trust, and ease that you are building patiently and steadily will persist. The subconscious mind has a documented tendency toward coherence, toward narratives, patterns, and explanations that feel internally consistent. When experiences are fragmented, confusing, or emotionally overwhelming, the subconscious continues working to find a coherent interpretation. This process can manifest as repetitive thoughts, recurring dreams, or an inability to fully move past something. It is not a malfunction. It is the subconscious insisting on completing an interrupted process. Giving it time, space, and the chemistry of deep sleep is often the most effective way to allow that completion. The relationship between the subconscious mind and the experience of time is unusual. Subjective time, how long something feels, is heavily influenced by the body's arousal state. When arousal is high, time feels to move more slowly. When arousal is low, time compresses. This is why deep sleep feels instantaneous and why anxious wakefulness can feel endless. The softening of arousal that accompanies the approach of sleep is also, quietly, a softening of subjective time. The long, difficult hours of wakefulness narrow. The night becomes gentler than it seemed. The subconscious maintains something like a safety map, an internal representation of which environments, people, and situations are associated with difficulty or with ease. This map is steadily updated by experience. New, consistently peaceful experiences gradually expand the territory marked as safe. This is why patient, gentle, repeated sleep environments, this quiet, this voice, this rhythm, gradually become places the subconscious marks as a doorway to rest. Deeply, reliably safe. Recent advances in the neuroscience of attention suggest that deliberately focusing awareness on a desired state, calm, openness, rest, activates neural patterns associated with that state, even before it is fully achieved. This is sometimes called top-down modulation, the influence of higher cortical processes on more automatic ones below. It is the neural basis for what many traditions have long understood, that where attention goes, patterns follow, not instantly, but measurably over time, through the slow reshaping of well-traveled neural pathways. The subconscious mind is involved in what researchers call implicit attitude formation, the development of automatic positive or negative associations with objects, concepts, or people. These implicit attitudes can differ significantly from explicitly held beliefs. Changing a consciously held opinion does not automatically change the subconscious attitude. Only patient, emotionally significant experience can do that. Every gentle night, every moment of felt safety, every experience of warmth offered and received. Sleep and the subconscious together play a central role in what researchers call affective forecasting, the ability to predict how future experiences will feel. Interestingly, sleep-deprived individuals tend to overestimate the negative emotional weight of anticipated future difficulties. Well-rested individuals show more accurate and generally more balanced emotional predictions. The subconscious, refreshed by sleep, offers a clearer, less distorted view of what tomorrow actually holds. Rest is not only repair, it is perspective. Here, 3/4 of the way through our journey, the answer to the question embedded in our title has become clear. Reprogramming the subconscious mind to fall asleep is not a technique. It is not a formula to be applied once and forgotten. It is a relationship, a slow, patient, steady conversation between the conscious mind and the deeper intelligence beneath it. It happens in the moments of deliberate calm you choose throughout the day. It happens in the quality of attention you bring to the edges of sleep. And it happens, most of all, in the daily gift of allowing the body and brain to complete the ancient, self-healing work that sleep was always designed to do. You might be feeling tired now. That's perfectly fine. Breathe slowly. Your subconscious has a rhythm, just as the tides do, just as the seasons do, just as the breath does. In and out, tending and releasing, learning and resting. You are part of that rhythm. You don't need to hold on to any of it. Let everything unfold in its own order, like a mind that knows, below the surface, exactly how to find its way home. We're almost there now. The subconscious mind continues its work throughout the night. Every sleep cycle, approximately 90 minutes long, includes both slow-wave sleep for physical restoration and REM sleep for emotional and memory processing. The subconscious does not pause. It simply shifts from one kind of work to another, guided by its own deep intelligence. You can trust this process. It has been refined across millions of years of human evolution. The hippocampus replays the day's experiences during sleep, sending them to the cortex for long-term storage. This is not a random process. The subconscious prioritizes emotionally significant experiences and those connected to what we already know. New information finds its home in the web of what came before. The subconscious mind is always practicing something. Every repeated thought, every habitual emotional response, every physical sensation met with the same inner posture, all of it is practice. Tonight, in the quiet, you are practicing rest, and the subconscious is taking careful note. The stress hormone cortisol follows a natural daily rhythm, highest in the early morning, lowest in the late evening and during deep sleep. Prolonged stress disrupts this rhythm. Steady, protected sleep gradually restores it. The body wants balance. The subconscious is always working toward it. Deep, slow-wave sleep is associated with the release of growth hormone, a compound that supports physical repair, immune function, and cellular regeneration. This release happens primarily in the first few hours of sleep. The body heals itself in the dark, while the conscious mind is entirely absent. The subconscious mind holds the capacity for self-regulation, the ability to return to equilibrium after perturbation. This capacity is not fixed. It grows with practice, with rest, and with steady experiences of successfully returning to calm after difficulty. Every morning you wake more rested than you fell asleep. The subconscious updates its model of what is possible. Theta waves, those slow, dreamy oscillations between 4 and 8 cycles per second, are present at the boundary between sleep and waking. They are also associated with states of creative insight, deep meditation, and profound emotional processing. The threshold of sleep is one of the most generative places the human mind can occupy. The subconscious mind responds to kindness, not only kindness received from others, but kindness directed inward. The neural pathways of self-compassion and the pathways of interpersonal warmth overlap significantly. Gentleness toward oneself is always felt somewhere beneath the surface. During REM sleep, the brain processes difficult memories in a neurochemical environment unusually low in noradrenaline, the stress compound. Some researchers believe this allows the emotional intensity of difficult memories to be processed and reduced without the stress response being fully reactivated. Sleep is not just storage. In its deepest reaches, it is a kind of gentle tending to the emotional past. The subconscious mind holds the blueprint of the person you are becoming, not as a fixed destination, but as a direction, shaped by every choice, every steady intention, every night of rest that allows the changes to take hold. You are not finished. You are always, slowly, being remade. The brain's capacity for insight, for suddenly seeing a solution or connection that was not apparent before, is significantly supported by sleep. Studies have found that sleep meaningfully increases the likelihood of arriving at a novel solution to a problem. The subconscious, working in the dark, finds what the daylit mind could not. The subconscious processes the sensory environment even during sleep. A sudden loud noise will activate the amygdala and initiate arousal. A gentle, familiar sound, like a familiar voice, like this one will register as safe and allow sleep to continue undisturbed. Familiar voices are among the most comforting signals the subconscious knows. Gratitude, expressed or simply felt, changes what the subconscious attends to. The mind that is in the practice of noticing what is good finds more to notice. Over time, the filter softens, not by pretending difficulty does not exist, but by insisting that beauty and safety also exist and deserve equal room. The subconscious mind holds the body's memory of safety, the physical felt sense of what it is like to be at ease. When the body rests deeply, this memory is refreshed. The nervous system is reminded of its capacity for calm. Each morning after deep sleep, the subconscious carries a slightly clearer template of what peace feels like. Sleep architecture is sensitive to emotional state. Anxiety tends to disrupt REM sleep and increase lighter, more fragmented sleep stages. Emotional calm facilitates the progression through 4 restorative cycles. The way we prepare for sleep, the thoughts we allow, the breath we choose, the gentleness we bring, directly shapes the quality of the subconscious work the night will do. The subconscious mind is well suited to learning from context. The environment in which something is experienced shapes how it is stored and recorded. This is called context-dependent memory. The steady pairing of this voice, this quiet, this darkness, this slow breathing with the experience of peaceful sleep, trains the subconscious to recognize this context as the doorway to rest. The parasympathetic nervous system, the branch of the autonomic system associated with rest and restoration, has been called the wisdom of the body. When it is active, digestion improves, heart rate settles, inflammation decreases, immune function strengthens. It is the body's natural mode of healing, and it is available right now, in every slow breath. The subconscious mind holds stores of experience that conscious memory cannot fully access. Implicit impressions of warmth, of safety, of comfort received in early life, many of which were never consciously recorded, continue to influence the emotional baseline. You carry within you more safety than you know, more warmth than you remember. The subconscious holds it all. The process of sleep itself is one of the oldest and most precisely refined behaviors in animal evolution. Every mammal sleeps. Many birds sleep. Fish sleep. The biological draw towards surrendering consciousness periodically, allowing the body and brain to do what only deep rest allows. This is not a weakness in the design. It is the design itself. The subconscious mind, in all its depth, in all its quiet efficiency and ancient wisdom, is always on your side. It is not the part of you that holds you back. It is the part of you that has been carrying you without rest since the moment you were born. Tonight, you can offer it something in return. Stillness, permission, the quiet that allows it to do its best work. You don't have to do anything more than this. This is enough. And so, our quiet journey through the subconscious mind comes gently to a close. We traveled from the first discovery that 11 million bits of information flow through the subconscious every second, while the conscious mind manages only 40, to the final understanding that sleep itself is the most powerful reprogramming tool the subconscious has ever been given. From the steady work of the glymphatic system's cerebrospinal fluid circulation tending to the sleeping brain night after night, to the slow, patient reshaping of neural pathways through repeated experience, to the theta threshold where waking and dreaming briefly touch and something new becomes possible. We discovered that reprogramming is not a moment, it is a direction, and tonight we moved in it. The subconscious mind reminds us that most of life happens below the surface. Much of what makes us who we are was written before we had words for it, in the quiet language of experience and emotion and repetition. It reveals a patience that conscious thought rarely manages. Without rest, without sleep, without the nightly surrender that allows deep processing to occur, the subconscious cannot complete its work. By pausing to offer it that silence, we glimpse something quietly extraordinary. That the most powerful thing we can do for our minds is, sometimes, simply nothing at all. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can, as deep as possible. Think about unity of every thought you have ever had, every feeling you have ever carried, every night of rest that quietly changed you without your knowing. You are not separate from this process. You are its expression. Think about consciousness itself, yours, and the awareness of every sleepy soul listening in the dark tonight. Perhaps all connected in ways we don't yet understand. You are not alone in the universe of minds. Let your entire being dissolve into the ocean of consciousness, into dreamless rest, into the space before thought. Prepare for deep sleep. No boundaries left, only peace. If this gentle journey through the subconscious helped quiet your thoughts tonight, perhaps a soft like or subscribe could help another restless mind find its way here too. It carries its own quiet weight, the weight of one more mind finding its way to rest. One sleepy soul at a time. But there's no need to do anything now, nothing at all. You've traveled far tonight, not through space, but inward, through the most intricate and intimate landscape that exists. You can allow these thoughts of the subconscious mind to fade now, like the last image of a dream at dawn. Present, then softer, then simply part of everything, leaving only the quiet, unheld calm behind. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if all you've carried today is being sorted by careful, invisible hands, and is simply setting itself down. If sleep comes, let it carry you the way memory consolidation does, not with force, but with quiet intention, smoothly, inevitably, into a realm where time and weight no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey. But if they're closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, your subconscious will still be there, still tending, still weaving, still becoming. The slow, patient work of transformation will still be unfolding. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, gentle explorer. And remember, your mind is always, quietly, rewriting itself toward the light. Good night.